We made the alternate history game Unlimited. How did we get here? I'm glad you asked. See, about 2 years ago, during a vacation in some random part of Asia, my friends and I had an idea. We were chilling in a car ride on the way back to a hotel after a long day of tourism.
The people are literally just like...
And on that ride back, we were talking about what was at the time the new exciting thing: artificial intelligence.
There is no man in charge. Let's talk business.
No, not those actually intelligent robots you see in movies, but like the chatbots that everyone uses today to cheat on their homework. So anyways, while most people were off, like I said, cheating on their homework, and all the others were dreading its very existence, we were thinking about the potential use of AI in the gaming industry. We had the idea of perhaps making a game powered by AI. However, because I couldn't code, and my friends were also not keen on trying to make the next Rockstar Games blockbuster, we weren't really rich with ideas on what exactly we could make. And how could you blame us? I mean, the three of us hardly ever touched grass. How could we have ideas about games to make? And what was there to make anyways? What kind of game can even run on AI?
Yikes.
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 Survival games like Minecraft and Terraria don't need artificial intelligence to be thrilling, and they already have the elements of randomness and replayability through random world generation. Nobody wants a chatbot or AI in a competitive multiplayer game. And games about storytelling and lore? Powered by ChatGPT? Oh please, you'd have better luck leaving a help wanted sign on a Reddit post. So that kind of sizzled into nothingness real quick.
And we kept talking about ideas, but nothing good ever came up. I wasn't joking earlier when I said that making something was gonna be extremely hard for us to do. If we were actually gonna commit to something, it had to at least have a good chance to succeed. We weren't gonna invest into something that might not actually pay off. What kind of teenager takes risks, am I right? So that conversation had landed on the conclusion that AI-powered gaming would remain in the world of science fiction.
Your greatest strength often comes out of your greatest weakness. Sun Tzu. He didn't actually say that, and we didn't actually think it. I literally just pulled that out of thin air 2 seconds ago. But it is a great way to describe what happened. Because what if we did take our greatest weakness, not touching enough grass, and turned it into our greatest strength? That was it. We came up with a formula that would work, an idea that was promising and engaging. Where did we find it? Well, turns out all we needed was hiding right under our noses. We knew the game had to cater to a community of people that were so desperate for new things that they would be receptive of AI power. And there was only one community of people diverse enough to accept such a thing: the alternate history community. Yes, we sold our souls to the devil.
Sold your soul to the devil? Isn't that a little bit dramatic? Nope, not even a little bit.
Because while some members of this community are just your creative run-of-the-mill history connoisseurs, the stereotype of this community are those who learned how to play Hoi 4 that one time, and now they think
Fascism and restoring monarchy is a base political view.
Or they literally go full-on angry mustache man. That community. But hear me out. It was literally the best kind of game to make use of AI, as it actually had something to gain by being AI powered. And it couldn't just be some fantasy like world domination or choose your own adventure game, because those still require elements of creativity, which, as we've already established, is non-existent in AI. But what can AI do? Well, it's defined as something that analyzes and changes existing records and documents to create a slightly different version of an already existing thing. Wait a second, that's literally perfect! All of a sudden, we had actually conjured up an idea. Well, that's quite promising, we thought. My friends were pretty excited. We reckoned it would probably take a couple of hours to code something rudimentary, just a dialogue-based politics game where you simulate alternate history, right? Yeah, we could definitely get that done the same day, right before nighttime. Yeah, it wasn't as easy as we thought. That wasn't a joke. We actually thought we could get it done one lazy afternoon. But let's rewind back to where we actually were in the story. A couple months after that trip, what we had predicted about AI, or more accurately, what we saw the actual professionals say online, came to fruition. That AI was going to continue getting better and better. And so eventually we got to work. About 1 year after that car ride. Look, we all procrastinate, okay? But anyways, we needed a game where you can play through history as a specific nation, but do something different and thus bring about alternate history.
Except because of AI power, the game's timeline won't have an ending date. So then the player can actually see how the future turns out as a result of that difference.
Finally, there could exist a history game with limitless possibilities, every alternate timeline and absolute freedom to do whatever you want, without mandating months of back-breaking effort and labor and grassless fingers for developers. We started by shopping for the best AI models, and let me tell you, we fed history-related prompts to every single one of them.
Eventually, we narrowed it down to 3 of the best options.
Claude by Anthropic, Gemini by Google, and the Llama by Facebook. Meta. We also looked at Qwen, ChatGPT, Amazon Nova, and all the other branches of those models, and more. And no offense to those AI models, but, let's just say, based solely on our own unscientific experiments with AI. Please don't sue us for defamation. The other models are just not good. Also, a bit of a rant here, but holy Christ, is this market not hospitable to social science? Like, literally, all everyone ever cares about is how well AI models can help them code. Why are there no billionaires backing the production of AI that can simulate history, not just computer science? So, as I was saying, 3 models were best. Why these 3? Well, Claude showed great quality, but it was expensive. And Sonnet actually showed a ton of merit and uniqueness, but it cost so much money that no one would ever play our game. The Llama? Particularly Llama 8B, not very good at all. In fact, the Facebook Llama did so poorly in our testing, its name became a meme. Llama brain, Llama language. Anytime anything did something generally stupid, we called it a llama. But the trade-off was that Llama 8B was literally free.
It was like, you can be a samurai.
Which is actually very generous of Mr. Zuckerberg. Also, a quick heads up, we do not endorse or condone labeling general stupidity as a llama. Facebook, please don't sue me. And the final option we had was Gemini by Google, which is also pretty much the only one we use now. The reason why is because Gemini Flash and Pro are both passably intelligent, and also Google has made Gemini incredibly cheap, and over time as well. It was incredibly thrilling every single time we saw a post online about how Google lowered their prices again. Why were they doing this? Probably to starve Anthropic into non-existence on the AI markets, and then leave themselves as the only option for game developers. What happens after that? I'm praying they keep their prices low, because they very well could be pulling Standard Oil. But regardless, we found the right AI. After those days, it took a couple of weeks before we had another skeleton, and it looked promising. We didn't have a map, though. And we thought it was going to work. A history game without a map. Heed the title of this video. And so we got working on the maps.
There were plenty of choices. We were thinking of doing something very simple, like an unmoving image that changes here or there based on the AI's inputs, or perhaps even some kind of minor animations to stack on top of this are you listening? No. There was discussion over these kinds of maps, but ultimately we scrapped the idea of using an unchanging or boring visual representation, even though we would have to think of a way to structure a more complicated map, and even though it was going to take much longer, and even though the process was probably going to be slightly miserable. But you just can't have a conquest game without a passable map. But also, the act of taking the easier route and settling for mediocrity was against our vision and purpose. We needed to make it high quality, not only for the players, but also to make it clear that indie game developers put effort and passion into their projects to create a legendary product. Legendary product? For a browser game? Ha! Get a load of this guy, he actually thinks he's relevant. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, you're totally right. I will destroy all of you! Of the several ways we could format the game, the best option was GeoJSONs. If you don't know how that works or what that is, don't look for answers here because I have no freaking idea either. It's basically just a file though, like a PNG or JPEG, except it has regions somehow. Throw in a little extra code and bang, you have a map.
And so after a couple of months, my friends and I had made 5 maps. And when they were put in, we had something that looked like this. Okay, hold on a second. Were we cooking? Were we cooking? No, we were not cooking at all. Because the project stopped moving entirely. There were two main reasons for this. The first reason was because the three of us were getting incredibly lazy, not working. I wish I could say that wasn't really the case for me, but nah, I wasn't really working on it either. But regardless, we had to get ourselves back on our feet. But how? In 197 AD, the Chinese warlord Cao Cao was campaigning in his war against his rival, Yuan Shu. In the lead up to a major battle, Cao Cao had no choice but to march his troops through blistering heat. With this major disadvantage, he was at risk of mutiny and his troops were exhausted. Seeing the state of despair amongst his ranks, he knew that there was only one thing that he could do. Hey yo, look at all those juicy fruits on the other side of that enemy army. And so Cao Cao won the battle. In reality, there were no fruits on the other side of the army, and it was just a lie to thrust the troops into battle. But after the victory, the troops all got to actually drink in the banquet. Cao Cao won by quenching the thirst of his employees. His soldiers. That was it. We didn't have any jarring deadline to follow, no impending doom to force our hand. Just motivation itself wasn't working. And there was a solution. It's like the wisest always did. When in doubt, consult your comprehensive knowledge of ancient China. Yeah, this next part is gonna make you think that I'm a sociopath. I hopped online and looked for some random indie history game developer who had a relatively large community. I'm not gonna name who it is, obviously. So I found this developer and, well, let's just say I took some liberties with the trust of my friends and did what any self-respecting man would do. I pretended to be the game developer, of course, and declared that that indie history game was incorporating AI, something it wasn't actually doing at all. Just kidding, I didn't actually do that, because identity theft is a jailable offense. But what the law allowed me to do was play a prank on my friends. So I just hopped onto Google websites, made a real quick singular scrollable page riddled with AI advertisements, and made it look like this random other game developer was actually bringing AI to their game. Don't worry, I didn't make the website available to spew this nonsense to anyone else. Just my two friends, please don't arrest me. The plan was simple. If I convinced my two friends that someone else was making an AI-powered history game, and that they were going to release very soon, why, our entire project would be down in the dumps, because they would get all the fame. They would get the praise for being the first to incorporate AI into history games. And we were not about to let that happen. And so the scheme was set.
Now, I just had to set it up. Hey ChatGPT, can you make me a list of 100 random games or websites related to history games and AI? Can you insert this Google link into some random number?
Guys, what's going on? What is this? New indie game developer using AI, creating a history game. Yeah, the rest of that afternoon just turned into spying on the projects of that random game developer, and I played along. But little did my two friends know that they were just spying on some random dude under the guise of a ghost that never even existed. Bro, what? That's insane! There's no way that's real! Who could possibly fall for something so weakly put together? To be fair, I am also in disbelief that it worked so well. But I will say that we probably shouldn't apply retrospective knowledge to people who didn't have it. Although let me assure you, this story is a real one. I'm obviously not a psychologist, but the closest thing I have to explain how that was even possible was that we were shell-shocked by the sheer horror of how bad something could be, which clouded our judgment of the realism of the situation. Oftentimes when something is so nightmarish, so catastrophic if it did come true, human psychology just forgets about how unlikely it is. Or maybe my friends and I just collectively share one singular brain cell. Now, I did my research. That game I impersonated was scheduled for release around the Christmas of that year. And so we locked in. The change in productivity was more drastic than America's industry in 1942. Anyways, that was the solution to the lack of motivation issue. But how did we address the second issue? Remember when I mentioned that earlier? What was the second issue? Well, the way we organized the game structure was to divide the simulation of an old historical timeline amongst a dozen AIs. It seemed like a good idea, but trying to get several AIs to work together on one big picture is literally And it spiraled out of control as we kept thinking of new things for AIs to monitor. And also, having that many chatbots created thousands of bugs and back-end errors, probably because most of our code was just a jumbled mess, also written mostly by AI models. The point is, with the quality of AI chatbots today, garbage, we wouldn't be able to make the ultimate history game. And so we settled for less. We went for the simple game, which is what Pax Historia is today. We remodeled the entire thing, said goodbye to the 24 prompts and all the code compatible for all the different stages of stuff we had to do, and basically forced ourselves to run the game with only one prompt for the historical simulation, a turn-based time travel type thing, which gave the AI a starting date, an ending date, actions that the player took in that turn, and asked it to simulate all the historical events in the time span. So in the end, we have something similar to Total War, being turn-based, except you can choose how much time the next turn button takes you, and you also get to do whatever you want. And oh man, does it work well. And now, we finally have a playable game. If you're still here, let me just say this.
The creation of Pax Historia was a thrilling, painful, but mostly thrilling experience.
Also, I'd be very, very thankful if you, the viewer, would go give it a try. And right now, we essentially only have a framework, a skeleton. Or rather, the hologram of a skeleton. There is still so much more to add, and we are thinking about how we want to structure the game. Maybe there will be more layers to conflict. Maybe we'll add politics or country statistics management, like food or money or national stability, etc. Or maybe when AI is better, we'll bring back the original game structure. And if that works, the ultimate history game would again become a reality.
Thanks for watching.
Literally a river. The water is definitely above the floor.